Right now, you're listening to the Scary Vibes podcast. My name is Michael, aka Mr. Scary Vibes.
My name is Abe, aka BiGG Paranormal. What's happening?
Welcome back. Tonight, we're on episode 28. Tonight's topic, straight from the community. There's some sickos. They're looking for those movies that are all about gore and splatter.
You know, eventually I knew that these were going to have to come around. They're not actually my favorite, but come on, man. You have to know that eventually, if you're doing a horror based podcast, you got to talk about the splatter, you know?
Exactly. So today, you're going to cover a movie, I'll cover a movie, and then we actually have a true crime, and this guy is just sick. So
Mm-hmm.
before we before we get into all of that, how have you been?
Man, I'm doing okay, brother. A little tired, just normal work grind throughout the week and whatever. I've been driving all over the damn state and whatever for my day job. You already know going in and out of these places is pretty heavy for me. And this week was no exception to the rule. It's actually been a lot heavier than normal. I'm not sure why. Friday was actually particularly scary, which was just a couple days ago. And which is
Sorry to laugh.
nuts.
Sorry to
I
laugh at
know,
you.
dude. It's like normally Fridays, you want them to be super easy breezy. I did a double route on that day, so I was working super early and didn't get home until super late. But when I went to the pharmacy to pick up the orders, and I started feeling my heart started getting really rapid. It was beating super, super fast. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? It was freaking me
Yeah,
out. It was
I
freaking
remember
me
you
out.
were calling me about that.
Yeah, man.
And right now, me and Abraham, we both live like in the Chicagoland area, and we're not really big on politics and this and that, but we have a lot of stuff going on with ICE and migrants. And you were saying not too far from where you were at,
Hmm.
there was like somebody that was like on a chase or something, right?
Well, I mean, if for those people that don't know, there was an unfortunate incident that ended up happening in neighboring Franklin Park area where a migrant man who actually had been a resident here of the Chicagoland area for the past 20 years, ended up getting killed by ICE. Now, the details of that are still up for speculation. But anytime anybody loses their lives, it's never a good thing. I don't care, what the details of that are. But
Exactly.
I do believe that when I experienced what I had experienced, and I was in Des Plaines, which is, pretty much like right next door. It's not far from Franklin Park. It happened around the same time that incident happened with this gentleman, and I picked up on intense, intense fear. And I remember texting my mom and telling her, like, listen, I don't know what's going on, but something's happening right now, and I feel so afraid. Like, I texted her and I told her I just keep feeling intense fear right now, and I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's coming from. And so she asked me, "Do you think is it you, or is it from somebody else?" And I told her, I said, honestly, it's so intense, I can't even tell the difference. I'm so scared right now. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it took me a while to get my bearings, and finally I was able to, take a couple deep breaths and do my usual exercises to get my mind and my body and my spirit back to where they needed to be in order for me to function. But experiencing what I had experienced had knocked out so much energy from me. And I already have very low energy because of the things that I experienced throughout the day, right? 24/7, every single day. Don't sleep the best because of the interactions with spirits and visits that I have. So I'm tired all the time. So when something like this happens, I am just completely drained. I'm like a zombie on my feet. And
Yeah.
but thankfully I had you. I was talking to you. You were able to kind of help me get, back to where I needed to be and stuff when I started to feel that kind of stuff again throughout the day. And but you were able to help talk me down, and with a couple of others. My mom, she's my anchor. My mom, and she's seen me go through these different things and these different experiences, and she's never been judgmental about it, and she's always been one to ask me questions and help to talk me through these things and whatever, man. So she's really my rock, dude. I have to
No,
give
yeah, she's amazing. Yeah,
I got to give props to her, man, because I mean it's a lot to put up, but yeah, that lady,
and
she's a G.
and for our first time listeners, Big Paranormal, he's an empath, and
Yeah.
he just kind of just picks up on things all the time, and we kind of go over a lot of that during our episodes. So for our first time listeners, he's not crazy, guys. He just feels things.
So and I mean, just to clarify a few things, I tell people that if you are an empath, it's not easy, right? Literally, my famous tagline is "This shit ain't fun." That's what I tell people, and it is extremely daunting and debilitating. It can be on specific days, specific phases of the moon that either amplify or nullify the level of energy that I take on each day. I don't think that I'm psychic, but I mean, I do have interactions and experiences with spirits, mostly negative, very few positive. But yeah, I don't even really know what to call myself. I know that I am very empathic, but I deal with it as best I can, and thankfully for me, I have such an amazing um tight group of friends that I can latch onto during the worst times. And you yourself, Mr. Scary Vibes, you're one of those main people. But I'm definitely thankful for people like you, like my mom, and handful of others. But yeah, I mean, we try to share my experiences on here just to be able to kind of reach out almost to other people who may be empathic or may be experiencing either the same things or things that might be somewhat similar. Maybe they're not similar. You can
Yeah,
reach out to.
everybody has different experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, we always like to start the pod off with just kind of talking about ourselves for a little bit.
Hmm.
And hey, if that's
Absolutely.
what you're going through, we're here for you.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not an easy thing, but reaching out to people and asking questions of people that have been there and have experienced either what you've gone through or something similar to what you've gone through, it really does help. But moving forward, what about you, Mike? How are you doing, man? You done anything cool or new lately?
You know, I just been staying busy with the podcast and creating shorts and edits and watching a lot of scary movies.
Mm.
And last Saturday, not this Saturday, just past last Saturday,
Hmm.
we ended up going to the movies. Me and you,
Yes.
we got together after a long, busy week, and we went and saw the new Conjuring: Last Rites.
Hmm. Yep. And we've got some thoughts.
Yeah, so we got together and we were able to check out. They at the movie theater we go to, they have a Screen X, which is basically three screens in one.
Yeah.
So that was our first time experiencing that, and we got to also experience the new Conjuring movie. So, what did you think about Screen X?
Okay, where to start with Screen X? So, I mean, maybe it was our fault because we purchased these tickets late. So we weren't able to sit like not nearly as close to the back aisles as we would normally have liked. But I mean, still, it was a decent sized theater. So the section that we were sitting in was not like right in the front, it was kind of in the middle of the space. And the thing is, like you said, it is three screens, right? So you have the main screen in the middle and then one on each side that goes at an angle. And this feature is supposed to, I guess, offer a more submersive experience. At least that's what they advertise.
Yeah, that's how they're
Um,
selling it.
right, that's how they're selling it. And the tickets were roughly about $20, right? Like $23 a piece with tax. And I gotta say, man, it you know what it felt like? It's like when you're at home and you're about to watch a movie and then it presents you the option of watching it in like letterbox
Hmm.
form. I felt like it was kind of like that. It's like, okay, I got to see like a tree that I wouldn't have seen if I wasn't watching it in this format. So it's for me it didn't really offer an immersive experience. If anything, I thought it was way more distracting.
Yeah, it
Right.
was, and it would only do it at the most pivotal moments, also. So at those moments when you're trying to focus, the screen
Uh-huh.
would open up from one to three screens,
Uh-huh.
and like you said, sometimes it would be distracting, and I feel like it could have good potential, but I don't think it's worth the extra money.
I really don't either. I mean, just because in order for you to get the full benefits of that format, then I think that you would only have to sit like in the very last aisles, all the way in the back, so that you could see all three, so that you're not focusing on like moving your head drastically from one side to the other, right? Trying to see what's going on in your peripherals. There was also a couple times where like on the main screen there was something really dark happening, but then in like one of the side screens there was like a window there and it was really bright and the light was coming in. So but that was like light was really bright, but we're trying to focus on this dark scene that's happening in like the main center screen, and then you have this big blinding bright light that's hitting you from the left side, so
Also,
it was very, very distracting.
I don't know if it was because I was wearing my teddy bear hoodie or because it was a full house, but I felt like it was a lot warmer in there.
Uh-huh.
But based on everything we're saying, it sounds like we're gonna have to give it at least one more try, but we're gonna have to sit in the last row.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to like wait for, I don't know, do you think we should wait for another like anticipated movie to watch it, or do we go see just like some regular meh, like
Well,
run of the mill movie?
Stephen King just put out a new movie, right?
Oh, it's The Long Walk, right? Is
Yeah,
that the new
I
one?
keep seeing people talking about it, and you know me, I love Stephen King, so
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to do that. But yeah, so Screen X, I don't know, man. For the first experience, it did not blow me away.
okay. So what did you think about the movie
Um.
without
Oh,
spoilers?
okay. So without spoilers, the movie itself was, and it pains me to say this, but it was okay, right? And that's for it being advertised as this like finale. You're not looking for just okay, right? You're looking for something that is gonna drop your jaw, that's gonna make you just jump out of your seats, be trembling with fear. And not to say that there weren't some great jump scares. There were some good jump scare scenes in here. They had some really, really creepy looking characters. The spirits, the ghosts that they had in there. I felt like they were beautifully designed, super creepy looking. But the movie itself was just, well, I will say this, it was better than the previous film, right? The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yes.
It was better than that film, but I still felt like it was not as good as it could have been. Overall, it was an okay watch, and I got to see it with one of my best friends. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I still had a really good experience, despite the negatives of like the whole ScreenX thing and whatnot. My takeaways from it, right? Like my negatives were, without spoiling anything. Oh, it's kind of hard because I don't. I mean, everybody knows even from the advertisements that Annabelle's in the movie, right? And
Yes.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of like a showdown between Annabelle and Judy, which is Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter. I would have liked to see more of that happening. I feel like the concept that they shared.
They definitely didn't tie all the ends with this. They definitely left loose ends for most likely a series that's going to come out.
Yeah, and that was another thing, right? That there was like some end credit scene that for some reason it didn't show up when we waited until the end credits. I ended up seeing it like on TikTok. And yeah, so apparently the Conjuring universe is not over, but like apparently they're going to be working on a series. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but probably most likely on HBO Max, just because I believe that they have the rights to the Conjuring films right now, because they literally have every single one available for streaming on HBO Max right now.
Yeah, that makes the
So
most sense.
I mean, they've got Welcome to Derry is going to be coming out pretty soon. The It
Yeah, it
series
seems like
that
every franchise is getting a series. So I don't know if this is going to be a good thing for horror movies or a bad thing, but hey, we're here for the ride and we're going to
absolutely,
be reporting it. So hopefully it's a good thing.
yeah, because I guess Camp Crystal Lake is going to be coming out on Peacock pretty soon, I believe.
Oh
And
God.
then there was rumors that they were going to be doing a series for Halloween, the Michael Myers
Yeah.
franchise. Listen, man. The one that I'm still waiting on is 13 Ghosts,
Yeah, that's going to be a really good one if they ever do it.
if they ever
Also,
do it.
too, the last past week, A24 got the rights to Leatherface.
Oh man.
And I think during the interview, they said the first thing they want to do with it is a series. So we're going to be getting a Leatherface series in the near future.
And I gotta say, I'm not totally against it because I feel like with a lot of these classic characters, we still have a lot of questions. A lot of questions about like you know, the backstory. What were they like when they were younger? What were their parents like if they had parents? There's still a lot of gray areas that need a little bit hashing out. And I feel like the only way that you can do that is having these characters have their own series where you have like an hour each week to help build up this storyline. And maybe if it like fills in those gray areas, already we have these characters that we've come to know and love, and maybe it'll just, I don't know, it'll just take the fandom to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a type of fan who does enjoy knowing, what a character came from, where they came from. I know there's a lot of people who think that maybe too much is not a good thing, and the unknown is even creepier than knowing. So hopefully they find a good line, and hopefully they just stay focused on the main characters and they don't create all these subplots with love interest and teenage drama and all that stuff that we're
Yeah,
praying that doesn't happen.
exactly, because that's where I feel like the last Halloween movie just went completely wrong. It's like, listen, this is the last Halloween movie. I want to see Michael Myers and I want to see Jamie Lee Curtis. I want to see Laurie Strode. I want to see them beat the hell out of each other. I like, give me a 2 hour movie of them just going at it, and then they wasted their time with that like whole those other sub characters, Laurie's granddaughter and this psychopath, serial killer in the making. That just, uh, they just wasted time with all that,
Yeah,
you
if
know.
they're not going to do anything with those characters, what's the point? Just wasting
Exactly.
everybody's time.
Exactly. See, just complete blatant disrespect for one of our favorite slashers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But back onto the Conjuring. My opinion, it felt like a Conjuring movie. Especially just like one and two. What those movies did best, this movie did the same thing. And I think, like you said, the set design and the character design, they amped it up. It felt like you were in the 80s. It felt really dark. The characters were creepy. So I think they hit it on the same notes as one and two that they did good on. But like you said, it was like the climax. This is the finale. This is it. So
Yeah.
let's go out on a huge bang. And they kind of didn't.
It fell short.
Yeah, so
It
I
definitely
definitely
fell
think
short.
it's a must watch. We love love the franchise, so we'll
I,
leave it at that.
yeah, definitely go draw your own conclusions. I mean, you might like it more than we did. Like I did say, it was enjoyable. I still enjoyed, myself watching this movie, but yeah, I just think it could have been better.
Those characters, though, I mean, they were creepy. That old lady and
Yeah, yeah, man. They had these weird grins on their face. Oh, why is it that I feel like in a lot of these movies, especially in the Conjuring and like Insidious movies, there's just something about like a wide grin that just makes a person so damn scary, man. And then with it being even more exaggerated, like an even wider grin with bigger teeth, oh, it just takes it to a whole different level, man. They're just super creepy. And then I feel like every time you look in a dark spot, like after seeing one of these movies, you keep looking for a face with a wide grin and whatnot. Ridiculous.
Ugh.
But
So to get
yeah.
us, so to get us back onto tonight's topic, do you mind if I go first tonight?
No, not at all, man. Go ahead.
So I chose a movie, a very modern movie, a movie that doesn't get love. And like I said, tonight's topic is straight from the community. They wanted splatter, they wanted gore. And
Mm-hmm.
when I think of those movies, I think of Art the Clown, the Terrifier movies. And for our listeners out there, Art the Clown, he's a new character. He's new to the whole horror world. He just came hot on the scene. And if you guys don't know who he is, Art the Clown is he's a silent character.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a meme with a black and white painted face. He makes these silly faces and creepy grins. He has a
Mm-hmm.
very twisted sense of humor who loves just torturing his victims.
Yes.
And the
Absolutely.
Terrifier movies are just a nonstop bloodfest. And I ended up going with Terrifier 2. I feel like that one had more of a story. So let me take you guys there. Terrifier 2 picks up after the first movie. Art the Clown, he's resurrected by this creepy nurse in a morgue. It's disgusting. And he's fixated on this new character, Sienna. She's a teen artist grieving her dead dad with her little brother, Jonathan, who's fascinated with just serial killers, and he likes to sketch things. And the things that he sketches sometimes comes true. So, like the first movie, Halloween night, a year later, it's Halloween night again. Allie gets a knock at the door, and there's trick or treaters. So she hands out candy and walks away, and she gets another knock at the door. It's a busy night. It's Halloween, but this time it's Art the Clown, and he's standing there with this garbage bag, and she reminds him, "Hey, dude, Halloween is for kids, and so is the candy. So you need to get out of here." She slams the door in his face. Now you get a loud boom at the door. Boom, 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 boom. She opens up the door. It's Art the Clown with his garbage bag, and he's rattling this garbage bag around. And it takes a shot of inside the garbage bag, and you see nothing but just saws and knives and hammers. She gets creeped the F out. She slams the door in his face, walks away. You see Art walking away. Later that night, she's upstairs in her bedroom. She's like fixing her makeup or her hair, and she hears a noise downstairs. So she goes downstairs and she notices that somebody broke into her house. So she walks over to her kitchen and she sees Art the Clown there, and he's pouring a glass of water for himself. And he turns around with just this twisted grin, and he grabs a pair of scissors and a knife and he chases her upstairs. This is one of the most craziest scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
In any movie.
And he chases her
Oh,
upstairs and he attacks her. He brutally attacks her. He ends up cutting off the crown of her scalp, just exposing just blood and brains, and
ugh.
it's disgusting. And he's just attacking her for no reason at all,
Mm-hmm.
tearing her limbs off. And he leaves her there, and you think, "Oh my God, what I just witnessed! This is disgusting." And he leaves the scene, but only to come back with some salt and some bleach.
Oh, dude, it was vinegar, I believe, right? Or was it
No,
bleach?
it
I
was
could be
bleach.
wrong.
It was
It was
bleach.
bleach. Okay.
It was
Bro, that
salt
was
and bleach, and he just pours the salt in her wounds and the bleach,
oh
and you could just
God.
hear her screaming. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. This movie, kill after kill, it just tries to one up each one of those kills.
Right.
What about you, Big? How do you feel
Bro.
about the Terrifier movies?
So okay, the funny thing is that it hasn't been that much time that's passed since the last time I saw this movie, but then I just brushed up on it and I watched it earlier today,
Hmm.
and I guess in like the what maybe the year since the last time I saw it, dude, I completely forgot all of this the craziness that maybe my brain was just like it was just traumatized and it blocked it out from seeing all the crazy stuff. But like, if you watched any Terrifier movies, they always try to outdo the last one, right? They always try to outdo the one before, and they try to go to the max with the kill scenes, with the gore. This is very much a splatterhouse movie, right? Right in like the first 5 minutes of the film, there's so much blood. Art the Clown is resurrected in a morgue, and he ends up killing the morgue, the examiner. um and oh my god, dude, like it just goes from bad to worse like throughout this entire film. Like there's this really crazy scene where Art's just covered in blood from all the kills that he made in the first movie, so he goes right to the laundromat and he
Oh yeah.
takes all of his clothes off, so he's sitting there butt naked while he's watching his clown uniform, whatever outfit, whatever you want to call it. But it's in that time when you get kind of introduced to that little girl, which it's still debatable, right? Like we don't know exactly what this little girl is, but we do know that she's some kind of evil demonic presence of some sort. Like, is this the demon that is kind of pulling the strings behind Art, the one that keeps resurrecting him?
Who knows? These movies, the first one doesn't really go into much storyline. It's not
Right.
until part two that you kind of start to build the character of Sienna and her
Mm-hmm.
dad, and something's going on with this notebook when they're drawing in it. So, but yeah, little pale face girl, she's definitely like some type of demonic creature.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny in that part when he's washing her clothes, she just shits her pants.
Right, and he's just kind of giving her the side eye. Like, I mean, I would think that it would take a lot to kind of gross out Art the Clown, but you could tell by like the looks on his face that he was just kind of taken aback by that. But the thing that I love about this character specifically is the fact that, like you said, he is a silent character, right? He does not use his voice at all, which means that he relies heavily on his expressions, right? And David Howard Thornton, love him or hate him, the guy is he does a great job with doing these expressions on his face. You know, he tells a story without saying a damn word. He can go from being kind of goofy and zany to being absolutely terrifying. He makes some of the scariest faces ever, or he can creep you out with that weird grin, or he makes this like angry face that just like really sends shivers up your spine. He does a really, really good job with all of that. But there were a lot of things that I enjoyed about this movie, particularly the character of Sienna, right? The fact that she's kind of like a cosplayer. So in this movie, she is working on her Halloween costume that's based off of a sketch that her artist father had made. And
Hmm.
I love the fact that she's like this cosplayer because it kind of coincides with the culture of fandom, right? It goes with like horror, comic books, anime. It falls into like that whole culture, sort of like subgenre. Um, when it comes to like the horror fandom, because if you go to any of these horror conventions, there's some people that put in a lot of hard work into trying to look like their favorite horror character, you
Which I
know?
don't know if you saw, but Chris Jericho's in this movie, the wrestler.
Right. You see him at like the very end of this movie.
And the way he got kind of put into the film is it was at a horror con, and he kind
Okay.
of just brushed shoulders with Damien, and it just sparked the idea of like, we want you in the movie. So it kind of shows how they're involved in the community and stuff like that.
Well, he's also a huge fan of horror too.
Yeah.
He loves horror, man. But like, I don't know, dude. There was just so many different angles and aspects of this movie that I enjoyed. The fact that like, there's a dream sequence where Sienna ends up, taking her medication because because of the trauma from her father losing her father, she has these like emotional problems. She's got anxiety and all this other stuff. So she takes her medication. She ends up knocking out, and she has this terrifying dream that involves art, and it shows kind of a twisted version of like a little kid's almost like Sesame Street style show,
Yeah.
right? And there's like cereal being advertised and stuff. I think it was called like art flakes or something like that. But
They
like,
were at the Clown Cafe.
yeah, the Clown Cafe. Exactly. And then you can actually see that inside of these boxes of cereal and in the bowls of cereal, there's like razor blades and needles and all types of just nasty stuff that kids could like cut their mouths on. It's very twisted, and it kind of makes you wonder like, okay, what kind of sick staff do they have working on this film? That it's actually writing this stuff. But what I thought was really cool is that there was a scene where Art just randomly pulls out a Tommy gun, like the old school machine guns from like the 1920s, 1930s mob movies, and he just lights up the whole set, like kills everybody. And it kind of shows like the diversity of the character, right? Because you have the archetypes of certain films wield a specific weapon and usually stick to that weapon, right? Like Jason has his machete, Michael Myers has his butcher knife, Freddy Krueger has his glove. Um, and they never really stray too far away from those. But then you have Art, who carries this trash bag filled with these just dark, crusted, rusty, sharp objects of all kinds, not just knives, but he's got like saws and screwdrivers, ice picks. I mean, he's got all types of stuff in there, and it kind of shows the diversity of where it's like he doesn't rely on just these sharp objects to kill people. He can use pretty much anything, which I thought was really cool. At the same time, I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but Felissa Rose makes a cameo in this film, and Felissa Rose famously played Angela, who was the main killer slash the main character slash killer in Sleepaway Camp. She was
Oh
actually a
yeah.
teacher. Yeah, she was a teacher at Sienna's little brother Jonathan's school. And there were some pretty crazy, interesting kills. You had mentioned already with Allie. That one was particularly brutal. Just when you think that it's over, Allie's mother comes into the room and she finds Art like still cutting into this poor girl, and then you find out that she's still alive through the midst
Yeah.
of all this, which really like messes you up. But it really that's one thing that I recognized about this character, is that a lot of these other main characters in these slasher movies are only out for the kill, but Art is different in the fact that he really, really wants to make his victims suffer as much as possible. That's his goal. It's more than just inflicting this pain. He wants to create so much suffering, just like he did with the salt and with the bleach. He wanted to make it hurt, and he wanted to make it last. And sometimes that involves not killing his characters, right? Or these victims. There's victims that he leaves alive, but he leaves them like horribly disfigured, because I think in his mind he probably knows that is probably what will cause them the most pain, is them still being left alive and then having to look at themselves in the mirror and to have to relive that nightmare over and over and over again. This was 2 hours of just like insanity, you know? It was just nuts. There was just blood everywhere, man. And if you're into that kind of thing, obviously you have to watch the Terrifier franchise. And I'm not recommending just the second movie or the first one, because there are three and they're working on number four right now as we speak.
Yeah.
But if you're into that just like gratuitous gore, by all means go see it. You know,
What
I mean, I enjoy the film just for the diversity, right? The difference of the
also too,
character.
I mean the fact that this movie is completely independent.
Mm-hmm.
They raised all the money to make this movie with crowdfunding and stuff like that. I think they only had a budget of like $250,000. That was all crowdfunded. None of
Yeah.
it was with any aid of any studio.
Mm-hmm.
And Damon Leone, the creator, he did all the practical effects. The thing with the scene with Allie, it was only supposed to be a 1 day shoot, but because of COVID, they ended up making that one scene just a whole week,
Mm-hmm.
and they really took advantage of it. And ugh, I mean, you got to give respect where respect is due. They just pushed their limits. They're like, we don't need a
Absolutely.
studio. We're gonna push the limits, and ugh. So, like you said, if you're into, gore and you have the tolerance for it, I would definitely
Mm-hmm.
check it out. What about you, Big
Mm-hmm.
Paranormal? What movie did you pick for us?
Oh man, dude. So there was this movie that I remember from being a little kid that I watched with my brother. And if, people who have listened to previous episodes that we have recorded know that my introduction into the horror world is majorly thanks to my late brother, who passed away back in 2018, man. This guy was a horror fanatic and would watch horror day in, day out. He would go to sleep, dude, with some of just the scariest movies. He would just be playing that on the TV while he was laying in bed waiting to go to sleep. Unreal. But I remember this movie had made such an impact on me because of how gory it was and how gross it was, right? And from the moment that we decided on like Splatterhouse theme, a splatter movie, I was like, you know what? The only one that makes sense to me to share is 1992's Dead Alive, or it goes by Braindead too. It depends, on what side of the planet you're residing on. This movie is not available for streaming in any of the apps right now. However, you can see the free version on YouTube. It is on there right now. This was Peter Jackson, who was famous for King Kong film that he did. Um,
Yeah.
bro,
Lord of the
I
Rings.
yeah, the Lord of the Rings. Like, I can't even believe that he was associated with this movie because of how nuts it was. Okay, so basically, this movie is set in New Zealand. It was made in 1992, but the movie, like the sets and everything, it really screamed like 1940s almost. 1940s, 1950s. What I thought was really cool was that they had like the town had these trolleys, that traveled everywhere, not trains. They had actual trolleys. So basically, the premise of this movie is that illegally there was this a Sumatran rat monkey, right? Which was like this incredibly rare, incredibly endangered species, a subspecies that was kind of poached and captured and put inside of this crate and illegally sold to the New Zealand Zoo, right? It was called Wellington Zoo in New Zealand. So it was, shipped over there. And there is this main character by the name of Lionel. And Lionel is kind of this, like, kind of geeky mama's boy type, real skinny, kind of awkward. And his mother is just really, really overbearing, overprotective. She wants her son to wait on her hand and foot. His father died when he was really, really young, so he's really latched onto his mother. His mother's actually very wealthy, so they live in pretty much the biggest house in town. And he actually ends up meeting this girl who is the daughter of the local grocery store owner. Her name is Paquita, which is a Spanish name.
Mm.
And so she kind of has this reading by her grandmother who does like tarot cards and stuff. And she basically tells her that her love is going to be this guy, this Lionel, right? So she's really excited that she believes that she's met the love of her life. And so they end up making this plan that to go on a date to the zoo. So they go and they're having a great time. But in the background, you have Lionel's mother, who, again, I said was so overbearing, who's just spying on this date. And unbeknownst to her, she gets too close to the cage that has this psychotic Sumatran rat monkey in it. And she gets too close to this cage and she gets bitten by this thing. And this thing is gross looking. They were I can't even tell if this was I don't think it was CGI, right? I think 1992 was too old for like CGI, but maybe they did like stop animation. This thing was so ugly, guys. Oh my god. Just think of like a monkey's body with like a really ugly rat face, rat head. It was just
And
so gross.
it's like hairless
Yeah.
and
It's
just
nasty.
jagged teeth and
Long
beady
nails.
eyes.
Yeah, and
It's
it's just
gross.
completely feral, completely wild. Like it had killed moments before that. It killed one of the monkeys that was in like a nearby cage that got too close to the cage. So that bite ends up festering and infecting Lionel's mom, and oh, it's just so gross. The representation of this wound. It's just like this gaping wound that's like pulsating, and instead of taking her to the doctor, they just kind of like wrap her up with like bandages and things of that nature. But almost immediately you can see that it's taking an effect on her. She's starting to get like these open sores on her face, and she's feeling really ill. And this is where it all starts, right? This infection. Well, there's this scene where she entertains two members of this like society, this society that she wants to become a part of, and they're serving food. And oh god, it's so gross because I have this thing with like food and any type of skin, or you know how I am, Mike. I don't like seeing food touch skin and vice versa. And there's a scene in there where they're sitting at the dinner table and Lionel's mother's wound just starts like shooting out pus, and like a piece of her face falls off into one of the bowls of food, and one of the guests ends up like inadvertently eating it. Oh my god. It's like it's grossing me out just thinking about it.
But it tastes like tofu.
Oh god, you're gonna make me throw up right now, dude. Um but so basically what ends up happening is a nurse comes to check on Lionel's mother, and Lionel's mother ends up attacking the nurse and biting her. And within minutes, the nurse turns into an infected zombie, tries to attack Lionel. But Lionel is able to push them into the basement. And for whatever reason, he doesn't report this. I don't know why he doesn't report this, but he, I guess, like tries to care for his mother and this other, zombie woman. But throughout the entire course of this movie, more people are finding themselves in close proximity to these zombies. They end up getting bitten. And then Lionel tries to contain them in his basement. And eventually, his uncle comes and throws a huge party at the house. One of the zombies gets out and attacks people, and just the entire party just turns into this zombie fest. I mean, this movie is completely twisted as well, because there is a scene in there where, trigger warning, spoiler alert, whatever the hell you want to say, but it results in two zombies getting it on, and they have a little zombie baby.
Ugh.
And it is the grossest looking thing that you've ever seen, man. This movie is completely nuts. But once you get like towards the end of the movie, there's a pretty badass scene where pretty much everybody in this gigantic house is now a zombie, and they're all coming after Lionel. They're all coming after Paquita. And bro, he's a G. Lionel's a G because he does the craziest thing I've ever seen. He takes like a lawnmower and he straps it to his chest with obviously the blade side out. And to me, it was one of the most imaginative ways to take out a horde of zombies, man. He turns this thing on and just starts running into these hordes of zombies. And there's just blood and guts and brains and stuff just flying all over the place, man. It is so gross, but it is such a good time watching it just because of how nuts it is. I mean, you watched the movie, Mike. What did you think about it?
Yeah, so yeah, this was my first time seeing it this last week, and I remember seeing the cover of this box art every time I would always go to the video store being a
Mm-hmm.
kid. There's like a woman and she's like opening up her mouth and there's like a zombie face in it. And I remember seeing it tons and tons of times, but I never rented it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, it's really kind of hard to find this movie. Nowhere is streaming it. I was kind of looking into it. I guess it gets tricky when you're talking because this movie was made in New Zealand. It gets tricky when there's like regional restrictions and there's gore and stuff like that. So
Right.
I guess it's not worth anybody's time to put it out. So I watched it on YouTube and kind of like you said, it's a zombie movie. There's tons of gore. It's a splatter fest. There's like these comical parts. I remember right when I first seen it, I called you and I was like, bro, did those zombies just get it on? And you were like, yes. You're like, yes. And then you see the baby and he's just like this big headed, just he has like two teeth. One of his eyes are like fucking festering with warts, and
Well, it's just
the
so
other
gross.
eyeball is just yellow and um but yeah, the main scene definitely when he straps up with that lawnmower and he just goes to town and there's just blood everywhere. I think I read that they use like 300 gallons of fake blood to do that scene.
Yeah.
um Another scene that I liked was when they went to the cemetery and Lionel was there. He runs into just these like weird street thugs,
Mm-hmm.
and then they end up trying to mess with him. And when they mess with him, it's in the middle of a cemetery. The mom just reaches up from her grave and grabs one of the dudes right by his junk and
Oh yeah.
pulls him straight to the ground and basically just severs off his family jewels, and you just see blood splattering everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of like scatter off, but then they meet up with the priest and it turns into this like kung fu slow motion fight scene.
Bro,
So
that had to be one of the absolute funniest parts of this movie where like the priest, he comes out of nowhere and like saves Lionel from these like now zombified thugs,
yeah.
right? And the one of the funniest lines in this movie is Father Magruder says, "I kick ass for the Lord." And then he just like turns into this Bruce Lee style crazy fighter and just starts kicking the shit out of these zombies. And he was holding his own, man. He did really, really good for a while, but
He
then
did kick ass for the Lord. That's a good saying. I might put that on a shirt and sell it.
that's what he said, man. He said, Don't worry about me, Lionel. I kick ass for the Lord. I was like, bro, yes. That was absolutely amazing. This movie is nuts, though, man. It just goes from crazy to crazier, because by the time you reach the end of this movie, you think that you've already seen enough with the lawnmower and all the crazy kill scenes that they had in here, and then it just goes in a completely different direction. Lionel's zombie mom shows up, and now she's giant. Now they have to deal with like a giant zombified Lionel's mom. It is crazy, 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 but it's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun to watch. Oh man, it brought back so many memories because I could totally imagine my brother sitting there watching it with me and just laughing at all the things that I was laughing at too. It brought up a lot of good memories from the past. But like we said, you can't really stream it anywhere.
That's
Um,
probably the only downside is watching it on YouTube, and the quality
mhm,
of it isn't the greatest, but if you
right.
could get past that, you said it perfectly. It's a fun watch. There's enough horror, blood, comedy to kind of just keep you rolling. And the fact that it's free on YouTube, I mean, if you could get past the quality, it's worth it.
It really is, definitely. And, hey, props to Peter Jackson, man. He came from very humble beginnings and
He
he's on
did.
to
Actually, I was reading, I guess, and when he created King Kong, when they're on the boat, I guess in the beginning, one of
uh
the crates actually says uh what is it, Sumerian monkey?
Sumatran rat monkey.
Yeah.
Bro, that thing was so gnarly, dude.
Yeah, I love when, they could pay homage to themselves from like way back. And he didn't forget where he came from.
Hell yeah, man. Nice little nod.
Exactly.
That's what's up.
Okay. So we're all caught up with how we've been.
Mm-hmm.
We're all caught up with some horror movies that involve splatter and guts. So this is the portion of the pod where we kind of will go into a true crime event.
Yes, sir.
And we both decided to talk about a very notorious killer.
Mm-hmm.
Before there was Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs, there was a monster that inspired it all, and that is Ed Gein.
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein's earlier years. Okay, so he was born August 27th, 1906, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, to George. That was his dad. He was an
Okay.
alcoholic. And Augusta, his mom, she was this hardcore Lutheran woman who just was a Bible thumper.
Mm-hmm.
Young Ed, he was an awkward kid. He had a stutter. He was teased. Augusta actually homeschooled him half the time, filling his head with just brimstone tales of just women being evil. She kind of just drove it in on him. So the family ended up moving to this creepy farm in Plainfield, Wisconsin in 1920. Soon after, his father actually passed away from heart issues and alcoholism.
Oh man.
And then in 1944, his brother passed away too. And this one actually, we don't know if it's an accident or if there was foul play. So his brother was actually killed in a bushfire. And the story goes, uh, there was a bushfire. The brother passed out. Ed ran to town and was like, "Hey, I need help. There's a fire. We need help." They get there,
Mm-hmm.
and the brother was found face down in the dirt, and he died of like just like breathing issues, and they just ruled it an accident.
Hmm. Yeah, it
But
sounds real sketch, man. Sounds real sketch.
yeah, and that was the final piece that was between him and his mother, him and his mom, and he was really close with his mom. And he would like sleep in her bed with her. He was really close to her. He was a mama's boy. The next year, she ended up passing away in 1945 from a
Mhm.
stroke. And
Okay.
this just left him at the farm all alone. So after Augusta's death, That's when Ed unraveled fast. It goes basically he started grave robbing in 45, targeting women who resembled his mom, a
Yeesh.
middle-aged blonde, sturdy woman. By 57, he actually exhumed 9 bodies, skinned them for masks and trophies. Where it all came to an end was when he visited a hardware store. He actually he went in there for antifreeze, and he ended up shooting this woman and dragging her back to his house where he gutted her like a deer and hung him in his shed. And the cops had found her gutted from her throat to her pelvis and her head hung on a bedpost.
Dude, this leads to so much speculation because how is it that he goes out to the store to buy some antifreeze and then he shoots a woman and is able to bring, like, did he shoot her in the store?
Yes, he did.
He shot her in the store, which means that was she the employee?
So she was an employee. It was the first day of hunting season.
Dude, this
So
is nuts.
everybody in town was out, and he went in there. He got some antifreeze. He actually paid for it. She wrote it up, and
Uh-huh.
then he came up behind her and shot her in the head and dragged her into his car and brought her home and gutted her like a deer.
This is nuts, man. The fact that he was able to do that in broad daylight while everybody else was just out hunting, that's horrific.
And when the cops got there, it was like a house of horror. They found like jars with women's anatomy. They found skin suits, skin light shades.
I remember didn't they
He had a
make they found like a belt that
made
was
out of
made
nipples.
of nipples? Bro, what? Oh, like dude, this is it's so hard to wrap your head around the fact that this happened in real life, you know?
Yeah, Ed, he actually only confessed to 2 murders. The
Uh-huh.
rest of them, he was just grave robbing. He was just digging up women that died and stealing their body parts. And they say that he had like a skin suit and he would wear it. And that's where like inspiration for the movie Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre came from.
Uh-huh. I mean, I looked at a list of some of the most famous films that were
Hmm.
based off of Ed Gein, and of course, you already mentioned Psycho, The Silence of the Lambs, Motel Hell in 1980, Deranged 1974, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, Maniac 1980, Three on a Meat Hook 1972, and then I mean, there's a whole slew more, but even House of a Thousand Corpses
I don't know if you
was
know this, but
loosely
he
based.
actually he pled insanity and he wasn't found guilty. They actually put him in a psych ward
Yeah,
and he died in July 84 of cancer. And I guess when he was on trial, he just sat there just muttering the whole time about wanting his mom back.
dude. So the thing about Ed Gein that really bothered me the most is when you think about all of the horrific things that this guy is now known to have done, the crazy things that he did to the bodies of, these cadavers that he exhumed, right? That he robbed their graves.
Hmm.
You're picturing a monster, right? Like you're picturing somebody who's just like probably big, burly, disfigured. But then you see what Ed Gein really looks like. And dude, if you saw this guy on the street, you wouldn't pay him any mind because he was just this like short, skinny, unintimidating looking guy. And to me, that's what makes him way more dangerous.
Yeah, I feel like, people underestimated him. But then again, he did, he went after women
Mm-hmm.
and and he was just mentally just disturbed. He definitely had a warped mind, necrophilia. People
Yep.
even said cannibalism.
Hmm.
I think he was just sexually deprived. His mom kind of just like kind of reminds me of the Water Boy. Women are the devil, you know. And he probably believed that he could only trust his mom. And
Yeah,
when he lost her, he just lost it.
I believe it, man. So one of the things that I'm most excited for now is that Netflix actually commissioned a film that should be coming out. I believe it's on October 3rd, starring
Yeah, it does look pretty interesting. Yeah, I saw it's coming out on Netflix.
Charlie Hunnam. That's his name. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart moment. But Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy is famously going to play. Now he's going to play Ed Gein, and I'm looking at photos of him right now as Ed Gein, and the likeness between the two characters is uncanny. I mean, this movie looks pretty good. I'm pretty excited to see this one. Um, if anybody is interested in actually learning a little bit more about this and going a little bit more in depth, MGM Plus on which is like kind of a side app that you can purchase on Prime does offer a docu series
Hmm.
called Psycho: The Lost Tapes of Ed Gein, and they show actual crime scene photos, and they even show some film reels taken from inside of Ed Gein's home, and them actually holding up all of like the belt, right? The belt of nipples, and they had a whole bunch of furniture that was bound in human skin. Bro, I remember watching this docu series and just like I was mind blown. I could not believe that what I was watching it actually happened. But
What's nuts?
it's absolutely crazy, man. But like,
What I actually think is crazy, I actually typed in Ed Gein's belt onto Google, and people are selling replica nipple belts on Etsy right now.
get the what is wrong
Like
with
who,
people, bro?
like who's wearing this?
Dude, you know what's funny is that he had many nicknames, right? Let's see. Let's list out a couple of the nicknames he had. The grandfather of gore, the ghoul of Plainfield, the Plainfield Ghoul. But I think he was mainly known as the Plainfield Butcher or the Butcher of Plainfield.
Yeah, I've heard that. Actually, I watched this really good YouTube video where this guy went there to the cemetery where he's buried, and he's actually buried right between his mom and his dad.
Mm.
And his tombstone was actually removed because people kept breaking off pieces of it to take it home. So
Oh
they
wow.
replaced it once, but they were like, we're not going to replace it again. But the crazy, fascinating part is that he is actually buried in the same cemetery as almost all of his victims.
Oh my god.
Like
Dude, poetic justice or cruelty?
it's
That's
just
just
cruelty, man.
that's just nuts.
You
I mean,
know, like
poetic justice for him, but cruelty to the victims and their families. That's
yeah,
nuts.
yeah, like you said, I'm excited to see this documentary or this show that depicts him. I'm sure they're going to go into great details, probably similar to the way they did Dahmer, and you're probably going to, see the reason he is the way he is. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I'm excited for it, man. Honestly, I'm excited. I don't know what to expect, but oh, fingers crossed that it's gonna be a great movie, and we can be able to, once it comes out, we'll be able to talk about it here on this pod.
Exactly.
Man, uh,
Another little
thanks.
fun bit is actually when I was watching that YouTube video.
Uh huh.
That gentleman, he actually went to after going to the cemetery, he went to the jailhouse that they kept him in
Hmm.
that small town, and they had said after the fact of him being there that actually a different inmate actually had these like really dark feelings of being in there, and he actually hung himself
Ooh.
in the same exact jail cell that Ed Gein was in. And we're talking about a small town with like probably less than 30,000 people. So they
Hmm.
don't get a lot of traffic going in and out of this place, you know.
Right. Huh.
So thought that was pretty
Interesting.
fascinating too.
Yeah, man. Makes you wonder, is it the negativity? Was it like some kind of dark spirits that drove this other guy to kill himself? Was
Well,
it like
when they
no?
went through the house, they actually found like Nazi literature, a lot of medical books.
Uh-huh.
That makes you almost think like he wasn't that dumb of a guy. Maybe socially he was like awkward, he couldn't speak well, he had a stutter. But I
Uh-huh.
mean, the fact that he was able to, you know, cut up his victims and sew them and just read this type of medical journals and stuff. And I mean, the guy wasn't not completely idiot. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely, man. Like, and I mean, he had a really twisted imagination too, to be able to come up with all these different things and things that he wanted to do with the skins. He had like an idea in mind of what he wanted to do. You know?
He would wear them on his face.
Oh my God.
Ugh,
Unbelievable. But man,
definitely.
thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for sharing that. That was pretty amazing, pretty entertaining.
I also appreciate, the community for giving us tonight's topic. And if you're sitting at home right now, or wherever you're sitting or
Hmm.
standing, and you have an idea of something you would love for us to talk about, drop it either in our Facebook group, Scary Vibes, or you could just leave a comment wherever you're listening to this at, and I'll make sure to look it over. And if it's interesting, we'll have it as a topic on one of our episodes.
Mm, yes, sir. We would definitely look forward to it.
But I think that's going to be an episode. My name is Michael, aka Mr. Scary Vibes.
And my name is Abe, aka Big Paranormal. Take care, everyone.